Okay, so obviously one of the first things you're going to want to do with your Police Interceptor is probably delete the spotlight mount. Maybe it came with the spotlight and that's cool to keep it. Maybe you want to add one in, but personally, I'm just going to remove it. So it's pretty easy, you know, different brands of these, so it may be a little bit different, but the idea is the same. We're going to be removing the screws that have this outer half, and on the inside there's an inner portion. Usually, I haven't taken mine apart yet, so I don't know exactly what's under there. And then this is obviously going to have a hole in it. Now you could plug the hole. I was fortunate enough to find a new one, and I think you can actually get them for not too expensive, you know, sub 50 bucks online. So we're going to be taking this guy off. Then we're going to come inside. We're going to pull this guy off, and I have a new one of these panels because, you know, they drill holes and stuff. And so these are really easy to take off. I mean, it's just as simple as pulling, you know, and then, you know, taking it all the way out. So there we go. You know, so actually this one, so since they removed the light already, this is all that we have left. And so we'll be covering this hole, making sure that it's not bare metal so we can not worry about rusting. But really, that's all we even really need to do right here. So let's go ahead to the outside and take off this outer panel and get going. Okay, so just these 3 Phillips screws. If you were taking off the actual spotlight, if it was still in there, there's quite a bit more involved, but it's really pretty simple. But a lot of them utilize these Allen or Torx set screws. So right there, you'd have to back that out, but you can see it's already backed out. So, and there's no light in there, so not an issue. But it's a little bit more intensive if you are just trying to get rid of the complete spotlight. So let's see if they glued this on or, oh, no. Wow, that was really easy. So this looks like a factory installed one. I don't think they were all like this. This is my first time seeing one quite like this, actually. So, but I think this probably is the more common one. So it looked, but you know, you can tell it was really nasty the way they drilled the holes through here. And actually, you know, now that I look at it, it's really jagged. They just did a good job of cutting it out. So I don't think this is the one that came from the factory anyway. If any came from the factory, I'm really not sure how they do that. But so we're not gonna need these anymore. So this is trash. And now all we gotta do is pop this panel off. So we'll open our door. Zoom out a little bit. And these guys are not too hard to get off, if I recall. But you kind of have to pull it out like this. There are clips, and they're really brittle, and they like to break. This one I don't care too much if it breaks. I've got a new one. That's it. So I'll show you these clips so it makes a little bit more sense. So these clips right here, which you might need a screwdriver to pop that one out. They put a ton of silicone, it looks like. Probably they broke the screws when they were installing this the first time around, or it's not the screws, the clips. And then looks like they maybe siliconed it really, really aggressively to get it to stay back on, or I don't know what that's about, but I'll have to clean all that up. If I would have known about this, I would have pulled it with the vehicle that I got everything else from and put a new one in. But so there's the clips, and then on the back side here, I just ripped them all out more or less. But they fit into these little like circular-ish, square-ish tabs. There's, you know, but popping it off, I broke them. So, you know, if you don't have replacements for these, be careful. But I have all new replacements, so I wasn't that worried about it. There's also this top tab, this top clip, which is super brittle, and I've never gotten one on without breaking it. And it just goes into this top one. You're probably gonna have to get a replacement for that. But like I said, I have one, so I'm not too worried. So that's all there is to that. I didn't show it, but I put a little dollop of spray primer on in the hole where they cut, and then I covered it with silver tape. So that's just on there, just kind of an anti-rust measure. I actually didn't do the screw holes. I probably should have. But the big one I was worried about was right in there. Okay, so I've got all my clips lined up, popped in there, facing the right direction. And the only clip I didn't have a replacement for is this very top one. I'll probably put some double-sided tape or something on there, some 3M very high bond tape or something. At the very bottom, there's a piece of Velcro, and good chance that if you're trying to reuse a used one or something like that, it's going to come off. I just put some contact cement to put that piece of Velcro back on. Now, I guess at the police department, when they were installing this light, they broke a bunch of these clips. So it looks like there's, well, only 2 I won't be able to use. So those ones that they filled up with some sort of caulking, I'm just gonna work around those. Luckily, they're not on the ends. All right, so got everything set up. I found that when they installed this light, they broke these tabs off. They filled it with caulking. I had to cut all that out or else it was getting in the way. Also, since I was using a used one, it came with this weather strip, and we already have one. So don't need this. So I pull that off. Otherwise, you're going to be trying to put a strip over a strip. So I'm just going to line this up. And we're going to start on this side and then kind of roll it over. Now, I did find that this one does not seat all that well. It's got a bit of a gap. And up here, you know, where that one clip was broken, it's just not grabbing very tightly. So I think it's not real urgent, but I probably will end up buying just a new one. And then probably the little plate that goes underneath it, try to find a new one of those as well, because I think that's where it's just not lining up quite right. There's multiple styles of these that look identical on the outside, but like this one, the original one, had the slide-on rubber piece right here that has these slots that it hooks into, and I had to take it off, whereas the old one didn't even have that. So I think that they are like 90% compatible, but not 100%. So this is gonna work for now, and it looks a heck of a lot better than it did. But you know, honestly, if you have the ability to, it might be better off just to buy a new one with the little backing mount plate that goes underneath it. But I'm gonna call it good enough for today, as long as it doesn't blow off on the highway. And that's how you do the spotlight delete.